and welcome back to Our Healer, Our Protector with Ryan Reichert.
And Lisa Sander. Hello, hello. Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday's right. So, all right, Lisa's going to be on the hot seat today.
Ooh,
and
where are you bringing me, Ryan?
all right, it's going to be pretty serious. Why does God allow suffering? Wrestling with pain and faith. And I think what we're going to do here is if you can walk us back through your life where in those valleys, that pain, that suffering, but where your faith, because we know it's been so strong for the last 5 decades.
Oh, 5 decades. Whoa.
But basically, though, like the story, and then kind of like you take us from there.
Yeah. Which pain point do I want to go? Because there's been many.
Man.
I don't know why this is coming to me. I'm reflecting on when I didn't pass my nursing board the first time. And I was heading up north to go to my grandparents' 50th anniversary of their marriage. And all my cousins were there and my aunt and uncles. And I came in with puffy red eyes. And they're like, Lisa, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm a straight shooter. I was embarrassed, humiliated, and I'm like, yep, I didn't pass my nursing test, and now I'm here. Which also, how amazing, because my most weakest moment, and at the time I felt like it was suffering because I worked so hard for my nursing license and I didn't pass the first time, that I had to expose myself to my family members. But what a greater place to be at that time for me, because I was with my grandma and grandpa that loved me unconditionally, my mom and dad and my cousins. In their world, they're like, oh, you'll be fine, you'll just take another one. So it was more simpler for them. But in my world, it was so humiliating. And I was ready to be a nurse and move on, and I couldn't move forward. But my family and what God showed me is they didn't see how I saw myself. And we're here to celebrate my grandma and grandpa.
All right.
And if you ask my grandma and grandpa what happened 30 years ago, being in my spot, like, look at their life and where they're at now. So if I can project back, like, look at my future and where I'm at now, and where nursing has brought me, and my faith in God. And then another one I think about, a pain point, there's many, but I've come out of them. COVID was a huge one. This does not even compare, Ryan, of you going to war, but a war in the health industry, in the hospitals, in the doctors, in the nurses. We were in a place that we have never been, but our ancestors have, with measles, mumps, polio, like all of that. They have been there, but this was our timing. And when I reflect back, a lot of people died. But I think when you think about how our world works, the reason why things keep repeating also, and there's bad people in the world, but like, when are we going to start learning from this? So I wanted to learn from COVID. And what I learned from COVID is how strong all of my peers were and myself. I saw death every day. Yeah. I did CPR every day. I held hands of people dying, and being next to them when their own family members couldn't be next to them and they had to watch their family member die from an iPad, which is so sad. And my grandma died during that time, during COVID, and we couldn't be with her. But I knew that God had a plan because of the suffering I went through losing my grandma and not being in the room with her.
Right.
That I could do that for somebody else. And so I appreciate the nurses that were there for my grandma and know how much she was loved, and we wanted to be with her. And then I got to do that for others. I was working 16-hour days. I would put in over 100 hours in 2 weeks, and so did some of my peers. And in that, watching everyone die from age 20 to 100, I looked into myself, and the pain that I was going through brought me to what is happening in my own life. Some of these 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds didn't get to retirement, didn't get to live their full life. And I'm like, I don't want to ever put myself in this situation. I want to live my fullest life and see the world how I want to see it. And all this work that I was putting into at that time, yes, I would do that all over again. Because for us healthcare workers, it wasn't about the money anymore. It was, we couldn't leave people alone to die by themselves or not have enough people to take care of them.
Right.
But reflecting all that, what was I doing for myself? What are you doing for yourself? For some of you, entrepreneurship, it's working 7 days a week and not knowing how many hours are you going to put in. But there are jobs out there like being a nurse. Like, how many hours will you sacrifice yourself? Because if you imagine all those hours that you pour into other people and taking their, as an empath, you're taking all of their energy in mentally, physically, moving people from bed to chair, chair to toilet. It's physical, and it's mental. And that's where I got to, what am I doing for myself? Like, who am I doing this for?
Well, I think that goes back to answer the question, of it. Like, why does God allow suffering? It's one of those sides that you can reflect on.
It's so you can reflect on yourself,
Yeah.
right? And to make yourself better. And I so believe this. We are all control of our own life. And God does have a path for us, and he has the best interest for us. He doesn't do bad things to us. People do bad things to us. And the pain that we go through is, if we didn't go through the pain, none of us would be better people. There are people that they've had a great family, they've had things pretty easy, and I'm so happy and blessed for you. And then there's people like us that have been through the pain. I wouldn't be who I am if I haven't gone through the pain that I have. And if I didn't let God be in control in my feelings towards God and my unconditional love for him and knowing he has unconditional love for me, I wouldn't be sitting here doing a podcast today. I wouldn't be able to help others how I've been able to help others or myself. As much as we don't want pain, I appreciate the pain.
Yeah, no, I mean, I look at it as like, we'll all have to suffer at some point. If it's early on in life, it's later on in life. I think the firstborn child of every family, I think, has to suffer the most. It's biblical. It's in there. And that in itself, when I reflect like on who has to, like if it's physical pain, if it's emotional pain, like whatever it is, firstborns definitely have the majority. So all of you out there listening, like if you're a firstborn, you're like, yeah, got it, check. And then there's the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh born. They're like, oh, I went through way worse than Timmy or Johnny or whomever. And, we're not measuring things here,
No.
but just saying that the sheer facet of the pain, the suffering, like Lisa's describing, is what's allowed her to reflect, especially in her faith, is how to change, how to pivot in life to go after those dreams that we have, those creative thoughts that come to us. That's why a lot of folks like come to you as an entrepreneur and they're like, they're crazy. And they're like, well, yeah, because we're actually listening to our Father, our Lord and Savior, like give us that creativity in our minds, those ideas. to go like, yes, and then they're going to help people. They're going to be on a podcast, and it's going to help those who are suffering through the same thing that they went through in life. And then that allows them to know that they're not alone.
And writing books.
Yeah. I mean, be it writing books, be it, your nurse's chair that you've had for all the years where you've helped many nurses, many doctors, obviously the patients and their families.
Yeah.
And that ability to communicate to others in a way that shares our light through his light, and basically in it all, then we continue to rebuild ourselves, through that pain, through that suffering. You come out the other side, be it at a year, be it 2 years, whatever it looks like. Hearing you, I just think back to how many months it took me, the first leg surgery I had 30 years ago. Medicine back then wasn't what it is today in the recovery process. And so it was like a 2-year bout, and then fast forward, I don't know, 15 years later, and it was like 7 months in those dynamics, so it's like how for you, I guess, when it comes to the pain and suffering and your faith, like, do you ever have the mindset of like, oh my goodness, this is taking too long?
Oh,
Like,
don't get me wrong, I'm impatient. I'm impatient knowing that I have to be patient. Sometimes I push the envelope to make things come quicker, and I'll tell you right now, it is not about my timing. Nothing comes to me when I'm impatient. It will not come quicker. I have learned that. I was reflecting, listening to you talk about all of that, like going through COVID also has taught me to be more respectful of human beings, because you don't know where they're coming from, what they've been through. We're all the same at the end when you're on your deathbed. If I could tell you, like, if some of you are like, oh, I don't want to listen to a Christian podcast, and I don't think we overdo it, and I don't have to like explain myself. It's your choice if you listen or not. But on the deathbed, because I can speak to this, because I've been with people, the people that might have been on the fence about God or been there or not, I can't tell you how many people that I prayed with that I don't know if they would have done prayer before. Mm-hmm. And telling them that everyone wants to be loved and know that they're going to be taken care of. And that's what our Father does for us. And showing them the light through that. My purpose during COVID, and all of us nurses, and thank you to all the doctors, nurses, nursing assistants, healthcare workers, I can't say thank you enough. When a lot of people were at home, we had to be at work. We had to show up no matter what. Right. And we were scared. Yeah. We didn't know what we were getting into, and science changed every day. So there was new things every day of what we could and we couldn't do. And it's kind of like life, right? Yeah. The unknown. Science is unknown until you keep practicing, you only get better. And same with God. You don't know unless you try. Yeah. I don't want anyone to wait till their deathbed. God will still be there for you, but if you can take him into your life while you're going through it, how much more and what you will feel differently at your deathbed. Because my biggest thing is I don't want people to be scared when they die. This one's going to kind of be a U-turn one. It's I'm thinking about just like how kind and loving you are just to everyone, seeing you in the hospital, work with folks, work with families. But during COVID, well, you have to go to work and people are staying at home. Was there, the forgiveness and the resentment side of that, knowing that you had to leave your home every day? Or well, Yeah, all three people in my home were home. My kids had to be home from school, but they were still taking class, right? And then my former spouse was home and got paid for being home. You know, at that time, and maybe this is how it feels like being in the military, I had a calling. So I wasn't angry to go to work.
Yeah, I was just curious, like, because
Yeah.
you
I wanted to get back. I didn't want to leave
Yeah.
because there were people suffering and peers that were exhausted. And then each one of us would get COVID and get sick. I never resented that. What I started resenting is coming out of COVID. And that's where I kind of started having resentment in life. And I had to really figure out who I was. And I didn't want to keep working the 110 hours.
Yeah.
And I wanted more life opportunity. And we do all this work for what? Because what our former spouses needed, what our kids needed, the learning to say no.
Yeah, no, I remember that coming back from like a, super excited to go. This sounds crazy. Super excited to go on a deployment, right? And like, that's what you train for. It's like
Yeah.
going to the Super Bowl, right? Everyone wants to and then you'd come back and you'd see how everyone treated each other, we're in the land of the free because of the brave, and just the unkind
Yeah.
people that you were fighting those freedoms for. And I guess I'm sure you saw that same disrespect in the hospitals
Oh, yeah.
and that same unkindness in the hospitals. And just knowing that, though, that's part of it, that with pain and suffering comes, that U-turn moment of, what does it look like for, everybody else in your eyes?
Well, think about the vulnerability, and it kind of reflects, I can bring this back to divorce. So like when people came with COVID, they're scared of the uncertainty of are they gonna live? Are they gonna die? Or in denial, COVID doesn't exist. I don't have COVID. I just need oxygen for some reason. It's just a bad cold. Whatever it looks like, you're scared. And now when I reflect on divorce, why do people get so angry at the end? It's because they're scared.
Yeah.
You are changing your whole life, your finances, which is huge.
Right.
It's cut in half, or it's cut 75-25, or whatever it looks like.
Right.
But the person that is scared of the unknown, not having the things that you're used to having,
Right.
relying on somebody to pick you up, like you have to do it on your own. And that is why, and during COVID, when you talked about when COVID was kind of coming out and we had less, angry people were coming to the hospital. And not before, all the nurses were heroes and stuff. And then we started being disrespected because there were so many new, whatever our government decided of what the new laws were, of how far apart you can stand, if you need to wear a mask. And hospitals had their own rules. Like the outside, the world was being where they had more grace, and in the hospital we didn't give grace.
Right.
People still had to wear masks. You had to have your temperature checked before you came in. If you had a temperature, you were not allowed in our building. And people were getting angry. And rightfully so, because they wanted to be with their loved ones, right? Because they were scared. They didn't want to lose them.
Yeah. When was the last time that they would have saw their family member when they, dropped them off, or the ambulance came and got them, or whatever that looks
They're
like?
scared of not seeing them again.
Sure.
And in divorce, we're also scared of that. That's why you go through anger, denial. Oh, this is not happening. Or angry. How dare you do this to me? Right. Being scared because of the financial. And like not knowing where our kids are going to be or how we are going to be with our kids. And I can see why people get angry, and the good side of you that doesn't come out.
Well, I mean, it's the survival mode, right? Like we go into that fight or flight or whatever it looks like, and you'll start kicking, biting, all the I mean, think of the wild animals like that
Yeah.
are out there, and they're more afraid of you than you are
When,
of them.
yeah, when your safety of your home gets taken away, because what do we always say? You need thank God for a roof over your head, food on your table, and all of a sudden, you don't know if food's going to be on your table, and the safety net is gone. Just like when you go in the hospital, you are vulnerable because it's not your own roof. Yeah. You're not in control of what's on your table, and people react differently. And that's why I think breakups are so hard. Before we end this, I think the beginning, where does my unconditional love of God come from?
Why does God allow suffering, wrestling with pain and faith? And you're basically, yes, your undeniable faith.
If you take that on and you can believe in him that way, each day is a new start, and he's going to show you something new each day. You need to change your directory. If you are stuck in a spot of pain and suffering, hello, to me, it's like, oh, something good's going to come out of this. A lesson is going to be learned. Always use it as a lesson. Do not use it as a punishment. And if you can do that, you can grow and you can become your best self. And we want all of you to be your best self. So if you are ready for us to show you the light, like we say, Ryan coaches, I coach, and we have our podcast. And like I always said, if you watch from the beginning to this one today, we have changed. We are different people.
Well, that's the thing. If you put in the work and you're willing to do that, you can change. If you're not willing to put in the work, you're not going to change. But make sure to check us out on Our Healer, Our Protector on all the social media. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share. And we'll see you next week, or you'll hear us over the radio waves. So thank you, Lisa.
Yeah. Thank you, Ryan.
All right.
Have a great
Love y'all.
week. Bye.
Bye.